is Sims, and we are back with more Your Dry Delight. Yay! I had so much fun the first hour we played this, and we're gonna have so much fun on the rest of it. So, I kind of wanted to look up, there's only 2 routes, but there is a third ending, I guess, after you do the other routes. But it's so funny, because I quickly looked, because someone else mentioned something about, like, I was trying to look at the reviews, and someone was like, oh, you have to play both before you get the ending. And I was like, you have to play both rounds before you get the ending? I guess because there's more like probably a true canon kind of ending. That's what I'm guessing. But so I ran and I popped into a guide just to look. And I'm not even kidding. Every choice that I have made so far, like, so I said in the last part, we'll probably go down, try to do Myers' route first, maybe? I think that's what we're getting regardless, because every choice that I have made in this game is literally the right answer for him and the wrong answer for Leslie. There is no, like, I guess we don't get a choice if we're going to go to the party or go to the speakeasy. Like, we're probably going to the speakeasy whether I chose it or not. That's what I wanted to do, but every choice that I have made. Every freaking one. I have never in my life perfectly pegged a freaking, like, thing, like, ever. Like, this is pretty funny. But, I'm gonna keep, so I do have the guide, for the 2 and the last, there's only 2 more choices after this. I will keep the guide up and do those so that we can definitely get the right, I don't think it matters at this point. I think we're gonna get, Myers ending anyway, but we'll see how long it takes. There's only 2 choices, so it might not be long. I mean, then we go back through and do Leslie's. Or it depends. If this hits about a half hour, we'll stop here, and then we'll read through, and we'll just read the whole thing again to do Leslie's, because that was fun, so why not? Anyway. As much as I hate to disappoint Leslie, my instincts are telling me and the speakeasy's worth a gamble. Okay, so see, it was going to choose for me. It's a risk, no doubt about it, but one I feel I have to take. Shifting out of my chair, I approach Leslie's desk and lean over it, giving him a firm look to show my conviction. Sorry, boss. I'm going to try my luck with Meyer, and there's a lead there. I just know it. Like I expected, Leslie doesn't look too thrilled by my choice. But true to his word, he soon lets out a good-natured sigh. Heartlessly leaving your partner in the dust. So this is what it's come to, eh? Fine. I'll just enjoy the free party food by myself. And not even gonna bring me back a sandwich. Ask your new friend for one. Leslie huffs and I snicker at his playful sulkiness. Although I have to wonder if a little bit of it isn't genuine. All right. But if you go, promise me you'll station a few officers near the speakeasy, just in case something goes wrong. You never know when trouble might pop up. Yeah, that's fair. I'll make the calls this morning. Good boy. And then I won't I'll worry less about you. He reaches out to ruffle my hair. Luckily, it was already messy, so he can't inflict much more damage. Now, let's cannonball into that stack of paperwork. Been looking forward to it all morning. We spend the rest of the day going through reports, most of them related to Italian gang activity on the east side. It doesn't exactly put me at ease for when I leave the office, heading towards Little Italy to pick up Meyer's cake. I keep picturing his face, and my mind wonders how he might react when I hand this to him. Wanders to how he might react. Will it really make him happy? Aside from those distracting thoughts, though, my bakery trip is an uneventful one. Prized cargo in hand, I end up at the speakeasy just as night's settling in. Welcome, sir. Please enjoy your night. The doorman gives his customary greeting, and I casually nod while stepping past. Here I am, a detective on a risky job. shuffling into a speakeasy with a cake in a paper bag like some kid holding onto his school lunch. And not my finest moment. Hold on, sorry. God damn it. The place is packed full, just like last night, which means I can't really pick Meyer out easily. I guess if I hang around the bar long enough, maybe he'll show up. Oh, it's Mr. Jack. A coarse voice. Oh, I thought that was Richter popping up behind. I thought it was Meyer. We're Richter. Wow, I thought it was Meyer popping up behind us, but it's not. A coarse voice, different from Meyer's, growls out behind me. It's that guy. I turned to see one of the rough-looking men I noticed last night staring at me suspiciously. I'm gonna patch it down. Make sure you aren't healed. Understand? Healed? Healed refers to being armed, usually with a gun, like packing heat would refer to later on. The earliest usage was around 1866. What? No one did this to me last night. What's the big idea? Would you shut up? I'm not here to answer questions. Before I have a chance to protest further, he grabs me and starts patting my pockets, roughly feeling around. Like, luckily I stuck my gun in my ankle holster. Sorry, buddy. I'm gonna be taking this for tonight. And the man pulls out the piece I'd been carrying as insurance, just in case things went south. Piece? Piece is slang for a firearm of some sort. Well, now I feel even more like a defenseless kid. Great. Just don't pull any dumb moves and you'll be fine. We like to keep things real cordial around here. Got it? Ow, this voice hurts. Yeah, I got it. Good. Then we'll be heading to the back room. Uh-huh. Whatever you... Wait, the back room? Wait, where are you taking me? Wait! And the man suddenly grabs my wrist, pulling me along the speak's perimeter. And my heart starts to pound in my chest. What am I getting dragged into? I told the officers not to get too close to the place unless I was gone for a while. But who knows what'll happen in the meantime? My semi-captor takes me to the back of the parlor and down a long, dark corridor. The music and laughter fade slowly into the distance, replaced only by the sound of our footsteps. Finally, we reach a large black door, and the man knocks firmly on it several times. Come in. I'm assuming it's Meyer. It's probably, if it's not, I'm going to be like giving everyone his voice. And the door opens into a warmly lit, spacious parlor. And not exactly the scary, dank room I'd been expecting. And there, in the middle of a lush couch, sits a familiar tall man. Mr. Eastman, your friend's here. Yes, I can see that. Thank you for bringing him in. I'll make sure no one intrudes on us if you'd be so kind. Yes, sir. I can't do his voice. Anyway. With a polite nod, the other man departs, closing the door behind him with a soft click. Oh, once he's gone, Meyer and I stare at each other for a few seconds in silence. I can only think that this dramatic reintroduction was deliberate. He knows I can read the subtext. Well, I brought your cake. I lift the bag in my hand and shake it a little, laughing nervously. I knew I could count on you. A pleased smile slowly spreads over his lips, and the sight makes me relax a little. He pats the couch beside him, and I don't exactly feel like I'm in a position to refuse. I approach and tentatively lower myself down, sinking into the soft cushions. Why, you're as stiff as a sheet of glass. What's wrong, Jack? Your secretary back there wasn't exactly the most gentle of fellas. I apologize. They're used to dealing with coarser individuals than yourself. You see, and I forgot to tell him to use kid gloves. Kid gloves? To use kid gloves with someone, or something, or someone, means to treat it delicately or carefully. The term refers to gloves made from kid leather, the skin from a young goat, which is extraordinarily soft and smooth. It's not that, I just wasn't quite expecting all of this. All of this? You mean a nice back room and a speakeasy? Meyer gives me a faux innocent look. Right, that's obviously what I was referring to. Anyway, here, your prize. I hope it didn't get smushed when your lackey was jostling me around. I offer Meyer the bag with the cake, and his eyes light up when he takes it from my hands. Wonderful. I can smell it already. I can't read that. I cannot read that. So you just go ahead and read that Hebrew, because I fucking can't. I'm not even. Anyway, my rabbi used to say, but I like to pretend it doesn't apply to cakes. That. Oh, it's German. Okay, I don't read German either. When is Japanese gonna come in handy? Doesn't even come in handy in Japanese games. There's always like French and shit. It doesn't matter. I don't have enough Japanese for it to actually be useful. Anyway, that is a German phrase that translates as, "It is hard to eat a stranger's bread," purportedly used by Jews in St. Louis, Missouri as of 1920. He gazes longingly at the bag for a moment, and then sets it to one side. A smile finds its way onto my lips before I even realize it. The way he likes sweets so much really reminds me of Leslie. Oh, before I forget, I have something for you, Jack. I was like, is it a kiss? Is it your dick in a box? Like, what is it? Meyer leans around the edge of the sofa, grunting softly before straightening back up with a bottle in hand. Old Forester Kentucky Whiskey, the label reads. You remembered. It was yesterday. I have an excellent memory, especially when it comes to people who catch my interest. I think I'm doing his voice different than I did yet last time, but anyway. He takes a glass from the table beside him and starts to pour me a drink, humming softly. I notice that he's already got a half-empty cup of coffee for himself, black as the night. This is a quality product right here. I promise there's no Ed involved. Meyer hands me the glass, letting his fingers brush against mine for a moment longer than necessary. God, I love how he's seducing us. I just love it! It's so classy. And it's so good. We don't even know what's happening. We think we know what's happening. I don't think we know what's happening. I know what's happening. You know what's happening. I don't think Richter knows what's happening. Thanks. You're quite the host. You expected anything less? He turns a little bit on the sofa, propping one elbow against the back so he can gaze at me head on. Feeling slightly embarrassed under his stare, I take a curious sip of the drink. Damn, goes down so easy. Good enough that I can see why you're not serving it out there. A man has to make a living, unfortunately. Buying and transporting high-quality goods is expensive, not to mention risky. But it's Kentucky whiskey. Is it fucking Jack? Did he literally give Jack? Oh no, Jack Daniels is Tennessee whiskey. I should know this. We went to the Jack Daniels distillery when I was a kid. I learned how to make whiskey. Like, they told you, like, well, I mean, obviously, like, but they, like, the key things, like, the water is, like, 60 degrees and came from a natural fountain and stuff like that. But it was the distillery was in a dry county at the time, so you couldn't actually drink any of the whiskey at the distillery. Go fucking figure, it's the weirdest shit. But they made lemonade with the fresh water spring that they get their water from to make their whiskey. So, yeah, that was fancy. Now when you go, it's not a dry county anymore. And now when you go, you can drink at the distillery. But
Little tidbit from Grandma Spacey about back in the day when you couldn't drink at the Jack Daniels distillery.
we used to go to the Budweiser plant in New Hampshire too all the time. We lived down the street from it. And we would go there all the time. especially if people were visiting, and be like, take a trip to the Budweiser factory. You know how many times I've been to that motherfucking Budweiser plant? Jesus. And not once when I went, okay, only once when I went, but most of the time when you would go for like the tours, they wouldn't have the bottle thing running. So if you've ever seen the opening credits to Laverne and Shirley,
Again, Grandma Spacey is fucking old as shit. I used to love Laverne and Shirley.
they worked at a bottling plant. I don't know if it was liquor or if it was like soda, but like they had like all the bottles going through in the conveyors and they put their little glove on the thing. But you never saw the bottles going through on the belts like that. Like they never like you never saw it when you would go through the tour because it was never a day like there would be bottling or whatever. Um except for once we had our after prom party at I in high school, an after prom party at a fucking Budweiser plant. What the fuck? Where the fuck? What the fuck even is New Hampshire? What the fuck even is that? But anyway, that was the only time the bottles were running. But nobody put a glove on one of the things, and I've just been disappointed my entire life for that. Just by the way, graduated high school a long ass fucking time ago, like a long ass fucking time ago.
I'm very old.
Anyway, I'd much prefer to serve good liquor over the common swill, but it's not quite feasible yet. Also, I mean, again, if it's Kentucky whiskey, they're making some good ass shit, and it's prohibition. Jesus. He pauses for a thoughtful moment, though his eyes flick back to my face soon after. Well, about that information I owe you, assuming you're still interested in work. As I nurse my drink, Meyer begins to describe the main mafia figures in the city, along with the various rackets they keep in great detail. And combined with everything else I've seen tonight, I think it confirms my suspicions. He's near the top of the underworld food chain in Cleveland. He's not even trying to hide it. In fact, I think he's just playing a game with me, seeing how far we can take this before one of us has to state the obvious. That you're going to kiss now? Knowing that, you'd think I'd be incredibly uncomfortable right now, but for whatever reason, being around Meyer puts me completely at ease. It's not the whiskey or anything. Maybe it's his disarming, casual mannerisms, or the soft and smooth way he speaks. And there's nothing aggressive or thug-like about him. He's perfectly composed. Occasionally he shifts on the sofa beside me, brushing my leg with his own in a way that can't possibly be an accident. Okay, Richter is so me. Except for he's like, I think he's flirting with me. And I would be the same thing, like, is he flirting with me, or is this an accident? I mean, he keeps doing it, and you'd think, like, the first time you bump someone's leg, you'd be like, oh, well, you know, you might bump and not say anything, but you wouldn't keep doing it, but you keep doing it, and do you just not have a thing for personal space? Or are you flirting with me? I don't know! Richter catches on a little bit faster than I would in this situation. I would literally move and be like, is my leg in your way? I can move it. They'd be like, I was flirting with you. And I'd be like, oh, you gotta write me a note and tell, like, you literally, you know, and just say it straight up. Just be like, FYI, I'm about to flirt with you. Okay, thanks. I appreciate that. Because I wouldn't, I don't know. I'm not good at this shit. That's why I'm gonna die alone. Anyway. I can't tell what's going on behind his twinkly green eyes, but there's something playfully devious about the glances he keeps giving me. Yeah. And I think that would make our trade just about even, no? He finishes his thorough description with an impish wink, taking a sip of his coffee. You sure are familiar with all the gang activity here, aren't you? If I didn't know better, I'd almost think you controlled some of it yourself. Me? Why, I'm not sure what would lead you to such an outrageous conclusion. Instead of looking offended, though, Meyer presses in a little closer, his smirk suddenly growing mischievous. After all, it's rather rash to assume things about people you don't know particularly well. Don't you agree, Richter? How do you... Oh, our name is on the bag, isn't it? We're not smart! He smugly lifts the cake bag, rustling it before my face. Your name is on the label. A mistake I wouldn't expect from you, if you'll pardon my rudeness. Were you distracted at the time you purchased it? He's like, "Were you thinking about me?" I'm not about to mention how I was daydreaming about him when I bought the cake. I think I'd rather just let my professional pride take the fall. Of course, I know you're a detective too, and I can guess why you're here. But please, don't take it as a blow to your acting skills. I'm just well acquainted with a number of professional liars, you see. If you already know so much about me, why are you pouring me drinks rather than having me shot and dumped in the alley? Meyer clicks his tongue, lightly wagging a finger at me. Violence is not how I prefer to do business, Richter. It's only ever a temporary solution. Violence begets violence, which is why you have warring Italian crime families rather than one consolidated, powerful body. No, in most circumstances, I'd much rather make friends than enemies. Friends like you, which is why you're not being dumped in an alley. Although, I would never harm. What's a Shinapunam? I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's right. I don't speak other languages. Okay, anyway. Like you, and no matter what my moral code was. Is it Shinapunam? I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but anyway. This Yiddish phrase literally means pretty face. Oh, I would never harm a pretty face like you. Oh. What if we didn't know what that means? We'd be like, what is that? It sounds like it's mean. He's like, it means pretty face. Oh. You're calling me pretty. He shifts on the sofa again, and this time letting his legs stay resting against my own. I swallow, relieved at Meyer's explanation, but acutely aware of his face being a mere few inches to my right. His legs touching you, he called you a pretty face. I think it's safe to assume he's flirting with us. Again, Richter already knew this. You certainly aren't like any other guy I've met, law-abiding or otherwise. Why don't you tell me more about what it's like, being in this risky business? I clumsily attempt to slide the conversation in another direction, and daring to glance over at Meyer. If you turn your head, you're pretty much going to be nose to nose. No, no, please. I know a one-sided agreement when I see one. With the gloating air of someone who's just caught their opponent cheating, Meyer shakes his head. I'll answer a few questions of yours, but only on the condition I can ask questions of my own. I swear on my honor to answer with the truth, and you'll do the same, but we can avoid one question in exchange for a favor. This is turning into sexy truth or dare. Does that strike you as fair? His tone casually rises up at the end, not so subtly daring me to accept. I think I'd be an idiot to expect a businessman like yourself to play fair, but all right, I'll bite. That's what I like to hear. You want him to bite? I didn't think you would, but I mean, okay. Meyer gives me a rakish, teasing grin, all too pleased with my reply. As a gesture of goodwill, I'll even let you start. Really? How do you make any money with that kind of generosity? Oh, you'd be surprised. As Meyer chuckles to himself, I pause and ponder on just what to ask. What do I most want to know about? Okay, so, I have the guide up and this is the right answer, but that's probably the one I would have gone with. Like, ask about his gang, ask about his history. We're trying to woo the man. So that would be like, not be like, so tell me about your family. Be like, tell me about you. Tell me about your history. Tell me about your background, your history. What was it like for you growing up? Like, we're asking him personal questions. He's like, oh, you want to get to know me. If we ask him about his gang, that's like your business. So what do you do for, I mean, it's also you, but you're like, tell me about your gang, not tell me about your personal history. What were you like as a child? Do you have baby pictures? My question seems to catch Meyer off guard. But his surprise quickly shifts into a gentle, pleased expression, and he nods in acknowledgement. I was raised in a cozy little Jewish community in Missouri, where I lived until a few years ago. I'm sure you'll find this hard to believe, But I always kept to myself as a boy. I rarely spoke to anyone. I suppose you could say I was afraid of rejection. Our rabbi was my closest friend. We ate corned beef sandwiches and talked about baseball on the weekends. Looking back now, I think he was just as lonely as I. He chuckles softly, gaze flicking down to the coffee table and lingering on his cup. I can't imagine Meyer ever being withdrawn. I guess he didn't develop his charisma until later. Several days after my bar mitzvah, a few boys who I'd never seen before approached me on the street. I know how to say bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah, which is for girls. Bar mitzvah, literally son of the commandment in Aramaic, is a Jewish ceremony often held for boys when they reach 13 years of age. Beyond serving as a coming of age ritual, it also marks the time a Jewish boy is obligated to uphold the commandments. The first bat mitzvah, the equivalent ceremony for girls, was held on March 18, 1922, for Judith Kaplan, the daughter of the founder of the Reconstructionist Judaism. The daughter of the founder of Reconstructionist Judaism. Yeah, right there. Meyer, they said, you're a tall, strong guy. Why the hell are you playing with the rabbi instead of making money? I realized I didn't have much of an answer. We formed a merry little crew. It was enjoyable to have that kind of attention from my peers, and my desire to fit in was why I began doing jobs with them. Eventually, my name garnered a certain reputation. The association grew, people started looking up to me, and somehow I ended up on top of it all. That's where you'd like to end up on me, isn't it? What? Meyer's eyes returned to me. I can't really read the true emotion behind them. Nostalgia, regret, or satisfaction. The rabbi, you know whatever happened to him? We don't speak anymore. He gives me one of those brief, thin-lipped smiles, the kind you only show to be polite. Again, it's hard to see through what it means, but I can detect a little longing in his voice. You know, I'd always separated mobsters from real people in my head, like you were all just monsters who'd lost your humanity. But listening to you talk, I guess it makes me realize how we're not so different after all. I twirl my glass between my fingers, unsure if that knowledge makes me more happy or grim. Meyer studies me in silence for a little while. It's not an awkward silence, though, just a thoughtful one. Well, your turn. For a question, you have one? Oh, I have many. When the silence finally breaks, Meyer gives me a wry grin, his eyes momentarily flicking down to my mouth. Yeah, I'm listening. All right. What's your greatest fear? My greatest fear? Probably being shot and dragged out into the alley. He nods, watching me expectantly. No immediate answer pops into my head, so I mull over the question for a moment. My greatest fear. Something that would keep me from sleeping at night. Hurting innocent people. Oh? I nod, forcing a brief, awkward smile as I take another sip of my drink. Meyer doesn't add anything further, though. Is he waiting for me to elaborate? I just think it's my duty, oh well, the duty of everyone in law enforcement, to make sure Americans are safe and happy. And that's why we exist. It's not just a job you do for money. It's a job that lets you go home feeling better about the world, even if it's just a little bit. Meyer tilts his head a little to one side, eyes glimmering at me. And then his hand slips onto my shoulder, resting there gently for a few seconds before squeezing it. Oh, he's making moves. Oh, I love this. Very admirable, Richter. Although, I have to wonder just where Volstead fits into that. He trails off curiously. Is he trying to lead me somewhere with that vague comment? Well, it's your turn, isn't it? Why don't you ask me something lighthearted? I don't mind if you get more personal. Yeah, I bet he doesn't. He leans in a little more, hand still lingering on my shoulder. I can smell his light cologne and the subtle, earthy scent of coffee. I've been trying desperately to keep my nerves under control, but it's getting harder and harder the more Meyer teases into my personal space. Oh! Ask if he has a lover. Do you have a lover? That's not the right question, but I want to ask it. I do. I probably would have asked that, but the right answer is okay. We were already, literally, we picked everything right, so we might as well just keep going. Well, what's your favorite thing to do? Favorite hobby? Favorite activity? I'm sure you just don't sit around here and drink coffee all day, right? And if I did, would there be something wrong with that? Well, no, I just meant. I know. In fact, I think I know what you mean better than you do. He shamelessly mutes my indignant stare, and I don't doubt he's enjoying every moment of it. It depends. What does? My favorite activity. It depends on whom I happen to be with. Oh, like me, I know what your activity is. I know. And shall I let you figure out the rest? Or would you like me to spell it out for you more explicitly? Please spell it out for me. I I think I get the idea, thanks. Your turn. Go on. Pausing, Meyer makes a show of tapping a finger against his bottom lip, turning his eyes toward the ceiling. It's such an obvious display that I know for a fact he's already got his question picked out, and he's just toying with me. I drain the last of my glass in an attempt to act casual, turning my head away slightly. Ah, I've got one. What memory do you have of your first kiss? Please describe it in great detail. It's like a girl's slumber party all of a sudden up in here. I love it. I nearly choke on my drink. So this is what he was planning all along. I'm listening very attentively. Hold on, Damn it! I know this is what he wants me to say, but it'll be a cold day in hell before I tell this guy I've never properly kissed anyone before. Oh, we're so precious! Look, when it's a girl MC that's like this, I have never... It's like, oh, for fuck's sake. But, like, this is just adorable. What are you doing? Where do you think you're going? That's not your side of the couch. No, what are you doing over there? Get. Why are you no getting? Get. Not. Sorry, my bird's on the... Hold on. Get off that side of the couch. That's not where you go. That's not your side of the couch. You stay on this side. That's where the poopy pads are. Plus, I don't like it when you go over there, because it makes me think that you hear mouses. You hear the Mises. We had Mises at one point. Like, 2 years ago. Okay, I heard that too. It's not mouses. It's not the Mises. I know it's actually mice. I'm just having fun here. Just whatever. It's the ice maker is on, and it's make weird noises. It's a refrigerator. It's not the Mises. Please don't go over there because you freak me out. When I did have mice, though, he would go on that side of the couch and he'd always be over there like... And I was always like, what? Because he could hear them. He's also really good at picking up bugs. Like, he knows all of a sudden he makes this weird noise. And he looks up and then you're like, what? And there's always a bug on the ceiling or something. Sometimes he does it, I think, just to fuck with me. Because I'll be like, what? Where? And there's no bug. You know, but anyway. Anyway. Can I just trade the favor? Oh. Don't feign surprise, you bastard. In that case, I suppose I'll take you up on that favor right now. I know what the favor's gonna be. I reflexively squeeze my eyes shut, sucking in a breath. It feels like my chest is going to explode. Richter, what are you doing? I I reopened one eye to see Meyer staring at me quizzically. I thought he... No, of course he wouldn't. He's too much of a gentleman. Just bracing for the favor. Just, a little dizzy from the drink. So, what do you want from me? For the favor? Well, you probably think me a fool for saying this, but... Reaching for the bag with his right, Meyer lifts it up and sighs happily. Oh, reaching for the bag at his right. I was thinking with his right, like his right hand, like at it. Okay, well. Meyer lifts it up and sighs happily, slipping his hand inside to unwrap the cake. I'd like you to share it with me. Share the cake? He nods, pulling back the paper wrapping to reveal the delicious-looking, spongy white dessert. I'd feel guilty enjoying it all by myself, especially considering you brought it for me. So I'd prefer we savor it together. Does that sound agreeable? Huh! I haven't had a thing since lunch, so you're asking the right guy. Should we just cut it in half or what? Oh, he wants to feed it to you, sweet cheeks. No. You're going to feed it to me. It's like, I think I would have just preferred you kiss me. I blink at Meyer, unsure if I heard him correctly. He gazes back at me calmly. I definitely didn't mishear that, did I? If you want, then should I go get a fork or... That won't be necessary. Oh, he wants to lick your fingers. I love this so much. Come, take a bite. Meyer offers the cake to me along with a daring raise of his brow. I feel like I just walked right into a trap. But I knew that from the beginning, didn't I? And I came here all the same because I wanted it to happen. I take a small bite of the cake, letting the fluffy sweetness rest on my tongue. Then, Meyer gently curls a finger under my chin, gradually closing the distance between us. Oh! Girl, you better give me a motherfucking CG of this shit. His chest presses against mine, pinning me to the back of the sofa. There's no need to be embarrassed, Richter. He breathes those words against my cheek, pulling my jaw down ever so slightly to part my lips. He is not going to feed the cake out of my mouth. That's going to be kind of creepy. It's like when people drink from my mouth. Oh, that's just too much saliva. That is too much sharing. Slowly, delicately, he covers my mouth with his own. Oh. Oh. The sweet flavor mingles between our tongues, but my head feels so foggy that I can barely think about how it tastes. Meyer teases me with maddeningly light, soft kisses, pulling back a little bit each time I start to press forward. He's really trying to provoke me, isn't he? Oh, well, it's working. Yeah, it is. Oh! I bite down hard on his lower lip, exhaling a hot, impatient breath. I'm sorry, biting someone's lower lip is sexy as fuck. I like being bitten, and I also like to do it. There you go, that's your Spacey tidbit. I've shared this before, but... Momentarily, his chest presses harder against mine. His kisses suddenly grow more aggressive, hard and deep, so intense that I have to gasp for air whenever I can. Oh. Good Lord. Are we gonna have to read this? Oh, God. Like, I want it to happen, but I don't want to read it. You know, that's me. Anyway. I pull his coat off his shoulders, grasping needily at his shirt, letting my hands wander all over his powerful body. Just as his tongue starts to slip into my mouth, he pulls back again, and this time breaking into a devilish grin. If I'd known that you would be so eager, I would have done this a lot sooner. Are we going to spend the whole night talking or share more of that cake? We're sassy and I love it. I can't disappoint my favorite detective now, can I? It would be horrible if you clapped me in shackles and brought me in for interrogation, after all. You say that like you want me to handcuff you and interrogate you a little. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Richter and I get each other. You sound pretty excited about that idea, actually. And can you blame me? Meyer swipes a finger through the cake's icing, and then presses it past my lips. I suckle on it without hesitation, lapping the sweetness off his fingertip, a faint moan leaking from my throat before I can contain it. Richter. I can't do the moaning. I can't. I'm too embarrassed. But anyway. Meyer suddenly leans in for another kiss, trailing his finger along my bottom lip. And this time, he's the impatient one, his tongue pressing insistently against my lips until I part them. It greedily swirls inside my mouth, tangling with my own tongue as Meyer presses me roughly against the couch. It's like he can't get enough of me, and I can't get enough of him. I grasp his hips and keep him pulled forward, wanting more and more. As we trade eager, wet kisses, my mind hazily wanders toward a certain question. What am I really doing here? Am I trying to live out some detective seduced by mobster fantasy? Or is it like Myers said? Are we just two men outside of our opposite professions, savoring each other's company? If Leslie could see me right now, I don't know what he'd think, or if he'd even find it excusable. But if I'm so easily turned away from my duties by a gangster, maybe I was never cut out for this line of work to begin with. Don't say that about yourself. You just fell in love with a beautiful mobster man. One of Meyer's hands drifts down my chest, slipping around my waist to squeeze my hip. I normally wouldn't do this on a first date, especially since I'd like to give you a reason to come back. He hurriedly murmurs a string of words in between breathless kisses, not giving me a moment to reply. But it doesn't feel like you'll need too much convincing. His fingertips ease along my inner thigh, sending shivers through me from head to toe. Oh my god, is this gonna get graphic, guys? I can't handle it. Like, there's a part of me that's like, get graphic. And then there's another part of me that's like, I don't want to read it. And just a little bit higher. A little higher. Damn. The fuck? Why am I always getting cock-blocked? Why am I always getting... Look, I wanted it to happen, but I didn't want to have to read it. But I wanted it, but I didn't want to read it. And now I'm disappointed. Such blue balls. A frantic knock at the door makes both of us jerk apart. Meyer smooths back his hair and clothes, sitting back and clearing his throat. Come in. The door instantly flies open and one of Meyer's men bolts inside. Oh god. Mr. Eastman! Mr. Eastman, there's a bunch of cops sniffing around right outside the joint. I think something's about to go down if we don't stop them. Wait. Those are my guys. Safety precaution. I jump up from the sofa, inwardly kicking myself. Damn it! I should have told him to go home earlier. I lost track of time and... Shit! There's no excuse. It's all right, Richter. Meyer's gentle voice calls to me reassuringly. Go put your men at ease. Maybe, by some grand stroke of fate, you'll end up here again tomorrow and we can resume our talk. He puts on one of his wickedly innocent smiles, winking at me. Thanks. I hope I can see you soon. You doubtlessly will. With a hasty nod, I turn and follow the other man to the door, smoothing back my own ruffled hair. Lucky for me, those officers probably aren't being paid enough to ask many questions. Oh, and Richter. He calls out to me just as I'm about to cross the threshold, and I can't glance back at him. And don't forget what your real duty is, hmm? Good night. Myers' man shuffles me along to the exit before I have a chance to reply. I mean, I know the game's short, but is this the end? Like, we got cock blocked! It was gonna happen! We got cock blocked! My real duty? The hell does he mean by that? Maybe it doesn't mean anything, but those words stick in the back of my mind, even as I leave the speakeasy to reassure the officers I'm alright and defuse the situation. Hopefully I'll get a chance to see Meyer tomorrow, and I'll ask him then. My heart's still pounding from the end of our talk. When I finally get home and roll into bed, there's no way I can fall asleep, and so I spend the night restlessly tossing and turning. I'd rather be hungover than this. Jesus. Infatuation doesn't fade away half as easy. Oh! There's a next day. Interesting. Okay. I thought it was going to be like the end. You know what I mean? Ooh, I wonder how long. We don't have any other choices, so I wonder how long. I mean, anyway. Morning, boss. I stumble into the office, feeling like a corpse dragged out of its grave. Coffee. Richter. And this is the second day in a row you've come in looking like a bedraggled cat. Do we need to have an intervention? I'm fine. Just couldn't sleep. Christ, something really is messed up when Leslie shows up at work before me. He lets out a long, playful sigh, shaking his head before taking a sip of his coffee. Well, don't keep me in suspense. Your escapade last night, of course. What happened? What did you find out? Oh, yeah, right. With my own coffee mug in hand, I sink down into my chair, clearing my throat. I'm going to have to leave out some of the details here, I think. My new friend, Mr. Meyer Eastman, well, he gave me some information about the powerful mob players in the city. It seems like he's really in the loop. The already pale Leslie seems to suddenly grow a shade paler. He slowly sets down his coffee and leans forward over his desk, brow furrowing as he stares at me. Did you say Eastman? Sure did, boss. Why? Why? Yes? Are you losing your hearing already, boss? You're not that old. Oh. Oh. Because Eastman is the man running all of Cleveland. That's why. Leslie raises his voice in excitement and frustration, slamming his fist down on his desk. All of Cleveland? Yes, all of Cleveland. I found out about him last night at that party I went to. He's well liked and hugely powerful, and most of Cleveland's Italian mafia is terrified of him. I don't know how on earth you managed to get in his good books, but Eastman is the key to taking down this city's liquor business. In fact, I think that speakeasy itself might be his main base. After we get a bit more information, we should set up a raid. I figured Meyer was powerful, but I had no idea he was running all of Cleveland. Leslie's right, obviously. Our department is supposed to be working with the FBI to enforce prohibition here, which means shutting down criminal outfits. And this should be a huge step forward. If that's the case, then why do I feel so reluctant? It's not like Meyer trusts me. In fact, I'm sure he doesn't. But I can't imagine putting him behind bars. Last night was probably just a game. His attempt to manipulate me onto his side. And yet it didn't feel like that at all. Oi, Richter! Are you spacing out? Do you need more coffee? I'm spacing out because I'm spacey, but... I snap back to the moment, greeted by a curious Leslie staring at me quizzically. No, I was just thinking, boss. We're going about this the wrong way. The wrong way? You have a different idea. When I nod, Leslie tilts his head to the side, motioning for me to continue. If there's anything I can give him credit for, it's that he's usually willing to listen to what I say, even if I'm the junior partner. Let me keep talking to Eastman. I'll get more details out of him, I promise. We shouldn't throw him in jail. Not yet. I just want to have sex with him once, boss. Just kidding. Leslie stares at me in stunned silence. Does it really sound that strange? Did you hit your head on your way home last night, Richter? And this is a mob boss we're talking about. He's dangerous, and not in line to be the next pope. I don't know what he said to you, but you shouldn't believe him. Just because he hasn't killed you yet doesn't mean he won't. Once you've outlived your usefulness. Haven't you thought about that? It's all right. If my usefulness to him is just to be a power bottom, and then he kills me after, it'll be fine. I'll have lived in bliss for a moment. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying. You know, Richter's sitting there like, I think I just want to make out with him a little. And then once I'm not useful him if he murder, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because I'll go out happy is all I'm saying. His frustrated, skeptical words echo my own thoughts. As much as I hate to admit it, maybe it's stupid to try and deny them, but before I can control myself, I blurt out the first thing that comes to mind. He's not a murder machine, Leslie. He's not a one-sided villain who was born bad. Sure, most mobsters out there are ruthless bastards, but so are a lot of normal people. Mafia guys aren't some special breed, evil to their rotten cores. Meyer, he's a businessman. He's using the law for profit, I know that, and I'm not saying I think it's right. But after talking to him, spending time with him, seeing how he's just a guy like any other, I'll be damned if I don't have more sympathy for him than whatever rich old highbinder is handing down orders in the FBI. Highbinder. Highbinder refers to a corrupt politician or swindler. It originates from the name of a Chinese-American criminal organization in New York in the mid-late 1800s. Leslie stays quiet, biting his bottom lip, a nervous habit of his, and avoiding my gaze for a time. I never raise my voice at him, or anyone else for that matter. I instantly feel a little sheepish about it, but I don't know how else to express my change of heart. Finally, Leslie rubs at his eyes with one hand and gently sighs, a small smile twitching at the corners of his lips. He stands up from his desk and walks over, giving me one of those affectionate, "What am I gonna do with you" looks. I guess I'm not all that surprised. You've always been compassionate and honest, probably why you're a terrible liar. He pauses, reaching out to gently ruffle my hair. There's still a worried crease in his brow, but I think he's trying his hardest to believe in me. If you really, really think this man isn't out to just screw us over, and he'll be of use to the investigation somehow, then I suppose I'm willing to go along with it. For a little while at least. Boss! A little while, I said. Hey, what? I jump out of my chair and pull Leslie into a hug, tightly squeezing his wiry frame. He stiffens for a moment, but eventually wraps his arms around me too, softly patting my back. Well, we're not in your path, honey. Don't get handsy. I sure hope you know what you're doing, Richter. If something ever happened to you, well, let's just say I have a hard enough time living with myself already. Why, because you're so high maintenance? Exactly. You know how many times a day I have to feed myself? It's very difficult, and having guilt on my shoulders won't help things any. I'll be fine, boss. Don't worry about me. As we pull apart, I gaze down into Leslie's face for a moment. He still doesn't look fully convinced. And it's perfectly reasonable. We're paid to be suspicious. I'll bring him around to the idea eventually, if everything works out. He's open-minded to just about anything, given enough time. Except vegetables, maybe. After we discuss things a little more, Leslie and I settle about our usual routine of paperwork, calls, and more paperwork. It's not like our work normally flies by, but today, the hours seem especially long. At last, evening rolls around. When I head outside, my feet start to take me down a familiar road before I even realize it. Welcome, sir. Please enjoy your night. Loud music rushes over me in a wave. The familiar sea of dancers, lights, and sparkling glasses. This place is starting to grow on me. To my surprise, I spot Meyer already standing by the bar, cup of coffee in hand as he chats with the bartender. Should I go up to him? I don't want to come off too strong. Maybe I should casually strike up a conversation with someone else and wait for... Just as I mull over my plan, Meyer's gaze meets mine. He instantly breaks into a warm smile, beckoning me over. Phew. I know, he like sums up everything. Like, you're like, I mean, I know we made out, and I know he's into me, and I'm into him, but like, do I... Okay, he's looking at me. Oh, thank God, because this is making me nervous. It's like my life in a nutshell. Except for nobody actually wants to make out with me, so... like... You're just like, could you just, like, are you flirting with me? I don't know. Maybe it's because, I don't know, if people are flirting with me and I'm a fucking moron, but... I wander towards the bar and step up beside him, clearing my throat to buy time as I figure out what to say. Well, it seems like my detective wandered back to me. Did your flock of officers decide to come along today, too? No, I left them at home at the sitter. Good. I can't tell you how disappointed I was when they decided to interrupt. His suggestive, airy murmur sent a tingle down the back of my neck. At least I wasn't the only one who was disappointed. Yeah? Well, I was really looking forward to the rest of that cake. I'm afraid I enjoyed the rest of it by myself. I bet you did. But I was thinking of you all the while. Does that make you feel any better? I think you're using cake as a euphemism. You probably are actually talking about the cake, but I also feel like it's a euphemism, is all I'm saying. I feel like it's a double entendre here. You're like, I enjoyed the cake. I bet you did. Like, not one bit. Meyer lets out one of his deep chuckles, low and comforting. It always seems like his sly, evasive mask melts away for a split second whenever he laughs, betraying something vulnerable. Listen, Richter, if you'd prefer, we can always linger out here and talk. As much as I want to savor all of you in private, I'm more than happy to just enjoy your company, discussing whatever flights of fancy we have. I probably shouldn't have said that. I imagine my seductive air of mystique is all but ruined for you now. Seduction? No. I haven't even... Never mind. His leg lightly brushes mine underneath the bar and out of sight. He's so bold, this guy. I can see how he got into his line of work, no doubt about that. Actually, I wanted to ask you something. I wanted to ask you some more serious questions. Privacy might work better. Just, as a precaution. Oh, of course. I have no doubt that your reasons are entirely... Ah! It's the cops! At that moment, the speakeasy door flies open and a small group of officers rush in. Screams echo through the parlor after the music cuts off, but the cacophony quickly goes silent. Really? Cock-blocked again? We weren't even close this time. Eastman's men can't even reach for their guns. The officers are already aiming their own. At the head of the group stands Leslie. Richter! And the second our eyes meet, he rushes over to me, releasing a huge sigh of relief. Richter, thank God you're not hurt. I thought for sure that... We had an agreement, Leslie, didn't we? How can you just storm in here after me? Don't you trust me? When I manage a choked accusation, Leslie just shakes his head, eyes narrowed. It's not about trust, Richter. It's not even about the job. To hell with information gathering. And the thing I care about most is keeping you safe. You're too honest, too trusting, and I can't just let you run around with people like this, even for the sake of an investigation. He gestures at Meyer angrily, apparently having guessed his identity already, and you're like, but I just wanted to make out with him a little more, damn it! Leslie was really that worried about me? I knew he was still concerned. I just didn't think he'd go this far. Meyer, who's been entirely silent this whole time, watches us with a carefully measured expression. How could he be so calm? He had no idea this was going to happen, did he? Gentlemen, I believe there's been some severe miscommunication. Please, Mr. Leslie, and tell your men to lower their weapons, and then we can discuss things calmly, without the threat of accidental bloodshed. Agreed? Leslie is got the resting bitch face going on right now. Leslie hesitates. And there's a very strange degree of trust going on here, but I get the sense that neither of them wants it to end in violence. I know Leslie hates hurting anyone, even criminals, and Meyer doesn't seem the type to enjoy it either. Understood. He signals to the officers who slowly, reluctantly lower their guns. And the tension in the room eases a little bit, though it's still far from calm. Let me say first, Mr. Leslie, that I entirely understand your concern for your partner's safety. But you see, after our friend Richter here showed up the other night, I was struck with an idea. I knew he was a detective before he so much as walked in the door. Your informant's working for me, and so I decided to have a chat with him. Was you making out with me just a game? Were you just toying with my heart? You mean, back there, that was... And don't get me wrong, Richter. I was enjoying every second of it. But I've been looking for a way to work out an arrangement with the law in Cleveland for some time. And you're a hard-headed sort here, let me tell you. He exhales a breath between his teeth, gently shaking his head. Richter, however, I could tell he was made of something different, and not so hell-bent on enforcing the Volstead Act, and yet not the type to be bought either. I was intrigued. So I thought I'd try to work out a deal, as is my way. Last night was supposed to be the beginning of that deal, but... Well, I was enjoying the company so much that I thought to myself, what harm can it be to wait a little while longer? When Meyer's glimmering eyes settled on me, I felt my heart skip a beat. Maybe several. He invited me back to make a deal, but it spiraled into something more because he enjoyed my company? So you really believed we wouldn't try to arrest you? It was a calculated risk, of course. Meyer casually waves one hand. The way he keeps this kind of sang-froid? Even while surrounded by the law, no wonder he's a leader. So it's not pronounced that, because it's probably pronounced something he never gets. It's French. But anyway. Literally, cold blood in French refers to someone who acts cool and composed, even in tough situations. Yeah, so it's probably pronounced with a French accent, and I don't know what that is. So anyway. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I like to make big gambles, and usually they pay off. But I've done my research on your backgrounds, your past jobs. I knew you wouldn't simply raid my venue without showing a few of your cards first. So you could say the chips landed where I thought they might. I'm just wondering if we were supposed to do Leslie's first and then this one. I don't know. Anyway. Leslie rubs his cheek with a hand, blinking rapidly, as if to try and understand everything we just heard. I know we're over time, but I want a good place to stop. I can't blame him. I knew Meyer was sharp, but I had no idea he'd planned everything out ahead of time. You know, even though we're the ones with our guns out, I can't shake this feeling that we've played right into your hand. You really do live up to your reputation, don't you? I was expecting Leslie to be furious, but instead he sounds more impressed than anything. Oh my god, please tell me this is going to a three-way situation. Oh, don't make me read it. Is it possible he actually took some of my words to heart back in the office? You mentioned a deal earlier. Care to explain what kind of deal we're talking about? Ah, I was hoping you'd ask that. I'm kind of hoping you would too. A particularly satisfied smirk curls on Meyer's lips, the type a man wears when he's just won at cards. Why don't we discuss matters privately, on a neutral ground? I'll even let you pick the spot, all of us disarmed, with a few of our men waiting outside. A moment, if you don't mind. Leslie grabs my sleeve and pulls me aside, leading up to whisper in my ear. You really trust him enough for this. And normally I'd say it's suicide, but this Meyer, he's not like any other man I've ever met. Stay away from my boyfriend. It's like talking to the chief of a big corporation, not a mafia leader. He scratches his head, clearly baffled. It's not like I can blame him. I felt the same way when I first met Meyer the other night. I know he doesn't mean us any harm, boss. He's still a gangster, I can't deny that, but... I paused, swallowing. Better word things delicately, or else Leslie might catch on. I think he genuinely wants to work out a deal with us. All of this would be way too much trouble otherwise. My thoughts exactly. I think we should hear him out then. Without hesitation, I nod. And maybe it's an incredibly stupid decision, but I can't bring myself to believe all of last night was just a means to an end. If you don't mind me saying, Mr. Leslie, I gather you're the type to take precautions. Meyer pipes up airily, and we both glance over towards him. Should the two of you not show up in perfect health tomorrow, I'm certain I'll have a big hassle on my hands, and that's not what I want, I assure you. You really did do your research, didn't you? It's a favorite hobby of mine. So that means you know what size underwear Richter wears. Boss! I'm afraid you'll have to barter for that information. Oh, you drive a hard bargain, do you? I like that. This is getting like way too sexy between the three of us right now. And I'm just thinking, like, I know we chose all the right answers, but like, this is an interesting ending. Great, just great. Perfect place to end it. Okay. Oh, God. After a little more discussion, the three of us settle on a hotel room for our meeting spot. Oh, dear God. And the unfortunate patrons who had to witness all that, well, they're sent home and promised free drinks when they come back. In this day and age, that's probably enough to risk being shot. Once that mess is sorted out, the three of us head to the hotel with our respective men. I can't even begin to imagine how tonight will end, but I have to hope for the best. Oh! Oh! That's the third end. Okay, I get it. All right. To continue the story, pick different choices and play through Leslie's route. Both routes lead to one ending, but you'll need to understand both sides of the story. Back to first choice. Unless both sides win, no agreement can be permanent. Jimmy Carter. Yeah, so we're going to a hotel room with the three of us. This is literally going to be a threesome situation. Oh, God, that's the deal. Oh, dear God, I love this game. That better be the fucking chosen ending. Okay. So anyway, I'm gonna end this part here. That was perfect. I think I will skip through Leslie's kind of stuff, so we'll probably be able to finish that in the next part. So anyway, I am going to wrap this part up here, and I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.